I'm Joey and this is Evan, and we're currently in our self-converted micro camper van. We're going to be spending the next year trying to travel to all 50 states, living van life.
For the past 4 years, we've lived on a sailboat in the Caribbean, and we wanted to talk to you guys about what we think living on a sailboat and living on a van are going to have in common and the skills that are transferable.
First up is living with a small fridge and limited cooking capabilities. So for the first year on the boat, we didn't have a fridge at all. We went through a series of coolers and tried to make those work, and I guess they did, because that's what we had for that first year. We also only had a single burner on the stove, and we had no oven at that time. So between that single burner and a cooler, we cooked all of our meals for that year. Granted, we were not cooking anything fancy. It was like a special treat if instead of ramen we were having spaghetti with meatballs or something. So yeah, we got used to that for that year, but now we've upgraded a little bit on the boat, and it'll be pretty similar to how it is in the van.
Exactly. And we would go out to eat pretty often, and that was okay. And when we're traveling around in the States, we're going to want to go out to eat and enjoy the regional cuisines and all the good restaurants that are around and available. So I think what we learned on the boat is definitely transferable to the van, and feeling pretty confident in that regard.
Do you remember when we first got the fridge and we got to make our first meal that had, instead of just olive oil, it had butter and cream in it?
Some milk and cream, yeah.
Do you remember that? It was game changing.
Felt
So
gourmet.
yeah, so starting off with that in the fridge, because we do have a cooler style fridge, so it's electric. It will keep stuff colder than just ice.
Mm-hmm.
So having that, we'll be ahead of the game compared to where we were for that first year on the boat. So I think it'll be pretty good.
Exactly. And the size of the fridge now is pretty comparable to the size of the fridge we have on the boat. So we're used to it. We know how to play Jenga and rearrange and make sure it all fits in right in there.
One thing we will have to consider, though, is this fridge I don't think is as energy efficient as the fridge on the boat, which brings us to our next point.
So we're used to having storage of all of our power in batteries. So that'll be the same on the boat and as on the van. We don't have any shore power. We're not going to plug in and charge all of our batteries. So we're used to conserving energy, not being wasteful, and kind of checking it and tracking it throughout the day to see how much we're using, how much we have left, and planning around that. Saying, okay, let's go to a cafe and plug in our computers and phones and charge up. Or if we're getting tired and we realize, oh, we're running low on battery, let's start conserving, or let's charge up.
Yeah. And in addition to conserving energy, conserving water is the other big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Water, for the first year on the boat, we were just hauling it back and forth in 5-gallon jugs. Now we're in the lap of luxury because we have a water desalination system on the boat, which is really nice. So it'll be more like early years on the boat where we have to fill up these jugs, load them into the van. One thing that'll be a little better, I think, in terms of monitoring water usage, though, is on the boat we don't have any way to see how much water we've used. We just guess. We say, like, well, we've made water for 2 hours, so we should have this many gallons, so this should last us this many days. But there's no way to visually check with our current setup how much we have. However, with the van, we have 2 clear jugs, so we can just see the water level, which will be really helpful living in the van.
So to run the power from the batteries into our electronic devices and appliances on the van, it's going to be the same setup as we had on the boat. We'll have lithium-ion batteries, and we'll have an inverter, and everything will be run on 12 volt, including the Starlink internet. So we know how to wire 12 volt systems and circuits, and that's the same skills and tools and method we're going to use from the boat onto the van. So we have that experience, and we'll keep using those skills.
Yeah, one thing we're going to have to do with the wiring once we get to the States is wire up our leisure battery. And I'm pumped about that because we don't want to risk running down the car's starter battery. So that kind of does its own thing, but we're going to have a separate leisure battery that powers some of the stuff in the van, like Evan said. So the fridge can be run off the leisure battery. We can charge our devices off of that. And there's a gauge you put in place so that since this is connected to the car battery, it won't suck down the car battery past what it needs to start. But we can still charge all of our devices off of it. And then of course we'll have the Jackery if we just need something that's quick and handy. The Jackery is small enough that we can carry it into a coffee shop if we need to charge it, and put it right back in the van. So yeah, the wiring experience should be pretty helpful, and that'll be one of the last projects we do before we hit the road. We can't install that lithium-ion battery while we're here on island because we're about to have to ship the van, and it can't have that type of battery in it. So once the van gets to the States, that's when we can do that last little install and use our boat wiring skills for the van.
Another similarity that we think we're going to see between boat life and van life is the reliance on community. As first-time liveaboard boaters, we didn't know a lot, and there was people all around all the time who were happy and willing to help out and to give us tips and tricks. And if they saw something we were doing that wasn't a great idea or wasn't the safest, or there's a better way to do it, they point it out and they say, hey, like, why don't you tie your ropes like this? Why don't you do this instead? And sometimes it was a little bit annoying, but sometimes it was very helpful, and it saved us, I mean, a lot of pain and suffering and heartache and thousands of dollars of repairs that we would have needed if we didn't listen to them. So it's that kind of community that we really enjoyed in boat life, and we hope to see, and I believe there is in van life as well. If we're in these kind of shared areas, campgrounds, spaces that van life people use, we'll get that same kind of community, which we enjoy.
Yeah. Something with boat life that I kind of had to get used to was accepting the community help and not just being too embarrassed and prideful to be like, no, we're good, we've got it handled, and just to welcome it, because most of the people we've encountered have been very kind and are more knowledgeable than us. There of course have been some outliers who don't know more than us and are just kind of bossy, and we didn't love that. And I'm sure we'll come across that with van life. But overall, in the boating community, just like swallowing your pride and accepting the help from people has been good. And so yeah, we'll carry that into the van world as well.
Mm-hmm. It's also, we like to help people out as well. We call it building up boat karma. So we see someone who needs a hand, we'll offer it and say, hey, you need some help? And say, oh, sure. And we just view those opportunities as building up boat karma, and it feels good to give back. So hopefully we can do the same with van life, build up some van karma. Yeah.
And I think part of the reason people in the boating community are able to do this and like willing to take these risks is because you know you're going to have that fallback of somebody like 2 moorings down from you. They encountered that issue 6 months ago, and so they're able to help out. So you're more willing to be risky with this stuff, and you know that somebody will be there to catch you. So yeah, it should be good to apply in the van as well. The last similarity we think we're going to encounter between boat life and van life, and something we think has set us up well, is being used to general discomfort.
We've had our fair share of uncomfortable situations, storms, rain, extreme heat, and we've dealt with it well. We know that, okay, this is a rough situation, and there's better days ahead, but just hunker down, be safe, take care of things that need to be taken care of, and look forward to better days. So there's a little bit of that in boat life, and I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of that in van life as well. And we're well equipped. We're resilient. We can take a little bit of beating and bounce back and still have fun and enjoy it afterwards.
Yeah. In addition to the emotional element, I guess, of discomfort and being a little bit unsettled, there's also physical discomfort. So heat was one of the things, but also like being wet and having to put clothes on. I imagine we will encounter that in the van too. Like if we get a chance to have a quick like outdoor shower and not being able to properly dry off before we get back in the hot van, we're used to that with the boat. Also being in tight proximity to each other. The first while on the boat, we were like physically bumping into each other a lot. It's going to happen on the van too. When we've done our test runs of the van, we're still getting used to it, of how to crawl over each other to get to different places, and you know who has what role. So yeah, we'll eventually get used to the discomfort, but we've had some good practice at it, and I think we're ready to do this.
I think we're pretty set up well to succeed in van life based on what we learned in boat life.
Yeah. Let us know if you have any questions or comments or any observations about what you think from the boat could help us with van life. And please click the subscribe button. I quit my job to go on this road trip, and clicking that button's free, and it really helps us out. Thanks, guys.